Hi there, I'm Casey here with Hey Wanderer, and today I want to talk to you about homesteading. If you either don't have land, or you live in an apartment, or you have a small backyard, small space homesteading. First, it's important to define what is homesteading. What does that even mean? I think a lot of people think it means like gardening and, you know, these big grand things, which it can be, but it simply is a term to describe a lifestyle of self-sufficiency. Obviously, today in 2022, it is very hard for anyone to be 100% self-sufficient, so it's better to think of it more as a journey, and not that anyone will probably ever obtain 100% self-sufficiency. But today I'm just going to teach you or tell you about some things that will help you live a more self-sufficient life no matter where you live. So first, obviously gardening, growing your own food is particularly challenging, especially if you don't have a lot of space. Some things that you can do are vertical gardening. We use green stalks, so they allow you to have, I believe it's 30 pockets in like 2 or 4 square feet of space. So you can grow a lot of food when you grow up. If you don't have a lot of space outside, those can work on patios or balconies. Okay, so when I started filming this homesteading video, I had no idea that Greenstock was going to have a sale. So I'm editing it, and I wanted to insert in here that they started having a sale today, which is May the 2nd. It's on the 5-tier original planter, which is normally $169. It's on sale for $109. And if you use our discount code, which is HEYWANDERER, I'll put that here, you get $10 off. So essentially we're going to get, if you use our code, the 5-tier original planter for $99. Again, that sale started today, May the 2nd. And I think it's going until they sell out. There's not an end date. They sell it pretty fast. So if it's something you're interested in, if you want to buy it for yourself or Mother's Day gift, get on it. If you have absolutely no access to outdoor space, they also have like indoor vertical tower gardens. Those are a bit more pricey than, say, the ones that go for outside, but that is a way that you can grow things that you can also grow inside in a small space. There's like microgreens. You just need like a grow light and just a place to put a tray. And those are things that they grow really quickly, so you can constantly just be turning those over. And microgreens are just super nutrient dense, so that's a really great thing that you can grow yourself in just about any space. Another gardening tip, if you don't have any land or you don't have the money to buy the planters that are for vertical gardening, is community gardening. If there isn't a community garden in your space, the best tip I can offer you is to start looking at the churches that live around you. One thing I noticed when we started getting into gardening and we wanted to do it on a larger scale is that churches, a lot of local churches have these huge lots. Well, they'll just have these massive spaces of just grass that there's nothing being done on that. And I always see that gardens should be there and orchards should be there. So, you know, start to, you know, call around and ask a few churches if you could take that on. That is a great way to grow food if you don't have any space. Also, if you have a tiny yard, but if you have neighbors that have larger yards, check with them, you know, see if you could rent a little bit of space or do a trade-off where, you know, you allow them to have so much of your produce if you can use their backyard. But just think outside of the box about ways to grow food, especially now, you know, with supply chains being interrupted and everything is just more and more expensive. Trying to think of different ways that you can grow your own food. There are ways to do it if you have no space. Number 2 from gardening would be canning and preserving your own food. So even if you have acres and acres of land, it is possible that you can't necessarily or don't want to grow everything possibly that you could ever want to eat. But for example, last year we grew strawberries, but we didn't grow enough to make all of the strawberry jam that we wanted to make. That's one of our favorite jams. We like to gift it. And so there is a local berry farmer. We just buy, I don't know if they're quarts or, I think they're little square containers. Anyway, we buy a ton of those and just can those. And so you don't even have to grow your own food to preserve food. But when you can your own food, you really are sort of upping your food security. Fermenting your own food, not only does that help with food security, but it is so good for your gut health to ferment foods. Savannah and I have been talking about kind of making goal to eat something fermented every single day. So we kind of want to get into doing that a little bit more. We fermented a few things, but I would like to explore that more. Other preservation methods, obviously a freezer. If you don't have a ton of space, a freezer is sort of my least favorite food preservation because it relies heavily on electricity. You know, if you've got a big deep freezer full of meat or full of anything and your electricity goes out for a day or two, you know, it could be ruined. So that's why I don't love to heavily rely on freezing food, but that is, you know, that is one way. Freeze dryers and food dehydrators are other ways, you know. So, you know, buy your own garlic, buy a ton of garlic. You can dry a lot of stuff without having a fancy dehydrator. You can do it in the oven and then grind your own garlic powder. You know, just doing as much stuff like that as you can. I should say this from the get-go, you don't have to try to do all of this at once. Again, it is a journey, and maybe try, you know, something new every month or every other month or something to just build on these types of things that you can do. Another thing, which definitely requires more time, but when you cook from scratch, when you make your own pasta, when you make your own bread, you really, again, are really becoming more self-sufficient. You know, if all you have to buy is huge containers of flour and you know that you can whip that into hundreds of loaves of bread for you or your family, you know, that puts you in a lot better situation. I eat gluten-free because I have celiac, and I bought a loaf of bread the other day at the store for $7.80. And we used to, you know, we were starting to make more breads of our own, but we don't even have a kitchen, a fully functioning kitchen right now, so this is not a great option for us. But I was like, Savannah, we have got to get into making our bread for ourselves because the prices are just outrageous, especially for gluten-free. I know we're so busy, but part of being more self-sufficient is trying to find time. When you're pushed to the max and you don't have a single free moment, it's going to make it a lot harder to become more self-sufficient. So you are going to have to start prioritizing and figuring out what is more important. Cooking from scratch is just something, again, it takes time. Just start picking a few things and say, okay, from now on, I'm only going to eat homemade bread, or I'm only going to make homemade pasta. At the very least, just give it a try and just start to incorporate those types of things. The other thing is just sort of a blanket statement would be just learning new skills. So We love YouTube as a way to learn new things. Neither Savannah nor I really knew anything about building, but you just do it. You watch people on YouTube do it. Something we learned on YouTube is how to change the spark plugs in my Honda CR-V. You know, pick sort of lower risk things to try. Learn to hang a shelf, learn to fix your leaky faucet, learn to sew. Sewing is a great thing, specifically repairing clothing, so that you're not just having to toss things out. Any of those types of skills, just kind of, you can pick a skill that really interests you the most, and then just slowly start building on that so that you are more able to do things for yourself. Another skill or another thing to look into is herbal remedies. So, not telling you to not depend on a doctor, but there are certain things that you don't necessarily, certainly natural remedies for cuts and scrapes, for coughs, for fevers, for these sort of low-level sicknesses that don't necessarily require a doctor, but also maybe instead of going out to Walgreens to get a medicine, you can just whip up something yourself, or you already have something. There are a lot of really good resources to get started, specifically for things like minor cuts and scrapes. Another thing that you can do is, you know, making your own soap, making your own personal care products, lotions, shampoos, things like that. There are so many resources out there for all of those things. YouTube, the internet are your friend, but you know, I just don't want anyone to think, oh, I can't do that because I don't have any space. But you don't necessarily have to have space. What you need more than anything is time and the desire. So I hope that these tips were helpful. I hope you will pick one and you can be on your way to a homesteader. Another thing I always see people say is, oh, I'm a wannabe homesteader. Hey, if you're working towards any level of self-sufficiency, you're already a homesteader. You don't need acres and acres of land. Just, it's a mentality more than it is anything else. So get out there and get homesteading.